Hi everyone, it's Gaylin, design team member with Unity Stamp Company. Today I have a canvas project for you. It includes stamping, and I'm going to show how to apply a stamped art panel and add that to a canvas. It's easier than it seems, and I love to use this technique. And so I pre-painted a canvas. And also I'm using stamps. One is Border of Poppies by Unity. Also, I have the kit No Apologies. It's the May 2020 AngMag Uniquely Unity kit. And I also have an element from Beautiful Elements kit by Joja. It's a mixed media kit 1. And I'm using that barbed wire look there. Also, this canvas is by Winsor & Newton. It is stretched 11-ounce cotton canvas 5x7 that's pre-wrapped. And I'm going to prime that. I pre-primed it, and I also added some paint to it just to give it some sort of background rather than just white. To do that, I used Gesso Canvas Primer, and I used a foam brush. It's like a foam blending tool there, and I coated it completely and let it dry with the primer, and then I added the darkest shade to a shade of gray here. I added the darkest shade of gray just in swipes to that panel. And then I came in with a silver. This silver looks metallic, so you just need a little bit here and there. And I just sort of gave it some swipes, not really coating it all the way there with the silver, just adding accents. And then to lighten it up, I added some white, and just each time using a clean foam brush for each color. I just swiped it, and then I let that dry overnight. So I used also for stamping watercolor paper by Ranger and the Mini Misty, and I stamped, I pre-stamped and die cut that wagon panel, and I also stamped the poppies. So I colored those with it's Altenew watercolor in different shades of that. Now, to do the mixed media part, you want to use a large lid or a box to work in to protect your craft area. And so now, before I add this to the canvas, I'm going to add some shimmer with Liquid Pixie Dust by Ink on 3. And I'm using that with a brush, just a scrap brush that I have on hand. And I'm adding touches, just a little bit. You don't need very much of this, just a tiny, tiny bit of little dots all the way around areas that I want to sparkle. I did that for the puppy flowers on both of those. And so now I'm using the Krylon workable fixative to spray the back and the front of each of these art panels here that's cardstock. I sprayed the back, cover each of it, and then do the front. You flip it over and you do the front. You don't need a lot. You just need to make sure that all the areas that you want to be protected are covered with it, and then you leave that to dry. You want to work in an area that's well ventilated and protected from spray. Sometimes I do this part outside. So anyway, you let it dry, and then you add it to your canvas in different layers. So the first layer I'm going to add is a stamped barbed wire element in the corners. I use Dazon ink, and I stamp directly onto a piece of red rubber stamp, and then I use my hands to place it in place, and I push. The canvas is going to give a little, so working with a stamp block really doesn't do as well as just using your hands to stamp directly onto the canvas there. And so you just add here and there, just some sort of accent that you like. You can use any smaller stamps, work better. Just work and add as you go. And then that layer dries, you leave to dry. You don't want to rush this process. Each process has dry time. So if you're patient, it really comes out nicely. So now I'm using Liquitex matte gel with the foam brush. I'm using a very dry and clean brush and I'm making sure that background is completely dry before you start this process. And then this particular matte gel by Liquitex dries It's not shiny, but yet it dries where you could see through it. It's clear, it dries clear, and I love it. It's my favorite thing to do, to use in mixed media. So then you coat the front and back of the art that you're using with this Liquitex gel as well. You start with the back side and then you add that to the canvas, and you're going to coat the front of it as well, just to adhere it completely and cover it completely. You notice that the stamping and the watercolor does not smear because it's been protected by that workable fixative. And so you want to go ahead and do this with a foam brush. You will have a little line, so to take some of the lines out very gently, I use a Decofoil stencil pal to remove. I don't want to remove all of the gel, but I want to smooth it out. And so you just smooth out that stamped panel there. And then you want to go ahead and use the brush to go ahead and smooth out that background area as well. Then you leave that to dry. I recommend overnight, and it comes out so nice and really smooth, and it's all adhered just fine. You could stop there and just use the panel as is. I decided to add a frame. I use Wonder Tape for an added cardstock frame there on the front. Maybe a glitter paper would look nice for that, or a watercolor piece that you did before, and you could add the matte gel and it affix that the same way. I just decided to leave the cardstock with Wonder Tape and add flowers. I used a glue gun to add the flowers to that, and I added some adhesive gems. There you go. You have a wonderful art piece to display if you want to. That's what I'm going to do. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you take a moment to subscribe to my channel. Have a great day.